Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 11th of November and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, in the video, we'll discuss the entire Hindu newspaper. We'll take the articles along with the background as well as the relevant way forward in the articles we are also going to see. Now, before starting, I would like to tell you that you can download the explainer PDF. In this explainer PDF, we have given the notes of all the important articles that have come in the today's newspaper organized along with the background. Fine. You can download this explainer PDF. Fine. The PDF is available on the Telegram channel. The link for the Telegram channel has been given in the description box in YouTube. Moreover, you can visit the Telegram and can search there by typing Thinking Palette by Sahil. There also you can access this PDF. Now, before starting up, first of all, let's take the overview of the entire newspaper so that we can understand the placement of the articles. Moreover, we can also understand that which articles are to be seen and which articles are just to be read in the headlines. Now, actually guys, today we are taking up the Chennai edition. Fine. So usually we take the Delhi edition, but up till now the Delhi edition was not available. So the Chennai edition has been taken here for the overview. However, only the regional section is actually different in both of these papers. Other all the news, editorial, text and the context, everything is same. Okay, so the first page, Tamil Nadu blast accused planned suicide attack, say NIA. So recently the attack blast happened into the Coimbatore. Now you don't need to track this particular article every day that okay who is getting arrested and all such kind of a details, not important. Fine, moving on. Campaigning ends in the Himachal Pradesh, voting from tomorrow. At COP27, India insists on higher global climate finance. We'll see this particular thing. We'll see the Copenhagen Agreement of 2009 where the climate finance and all these things were finalized. Then moving on, the advertisements etc. has been given. Then guys, the regional section, fine. The regional section, law and order issues, fine. Not important for the examination. Fine. Moving on in this particular direction. Then guys, it is Tamil Nadu in focus that has been given, which is mainly discussing about the Tamil Nadu specific regions that are there. Okay, so directly we'll be reaching to the editorial page. Fine, in the regional section, relevant articles with respect to the UPSC are not much there. However, there is one article that I want to talk about, that is the ISRO's cryogenic engine, which is indigenously developed for LVM3. We'll see this particular article as what it is all about. Then coming to the editorial page, the way out for Kerala's fiscal vulnerability, we'll see this article. Forgotten in India after fighting the World War trenches, we'll see this article also. Then guys, underneath truth, fine. So central agencies should reflect about the way they are used for the political ends. So guys, recently we have seen this particular thing that Mr. Sanjay Raut was given basically fine, was given some relief, and in this particular direction how the PMLA is being used for the political purposes and all such things are being provided. Okay, then going on content slot, this particular article is talking about the recent uplink downlink rules 2022 that has been released. Then should chief ministers have a say in the appointment of the governors? We'll see this particular article as what it is talking about. Then guys, moving on, now the text and the context page is shifted downwards, so we'll see that also it has come. Then Supreme Court allows activist Navlakha to move from jail to house arrest. Guys, these issues, evolutionary issues, law and order things, not important for the examination. Then the political articles have been provided in this entire page. Then visa wait time to drop after July 2023, say US ahead of Yellen visit. So guys, in the past in the past 1 year, we have seen this thing that there are a lot of visa applications that have piled up, and therefore approval of the visa is taking a long time. Okay, now the point is that the USA is increasing their staff into the USA's embassy in India so that the backlog of the applications that have been there, it can be cleared. Then payment still an issue, India and Russia working towards a solution. We'll see this particular article. Then Republican clause in the US House majority with Senate still for grabs. Okay, now guys, no need to go too much into the detail in the US midterm elections etc. that are happening. Ukraine forces advance after Russia announces retreat from the Kherson city. Okay, so guys, see this thing, Russia-Ukraine war as it is going on. Fine, everyday development are not something that you need to go too much in that. Then current account deficit may be lower at 3% this fiscal year. So, so this has been provided that the fiscal deficit will be lower. It might be because of the things that the exports might improve. Then further moving on, we have the sports page, okay, and then guys, we have the text and the context page. Then the in the text and the context page, there is the Russia's withdrawal from the Kherson that has been provided. Now see this particular thing, I will not advise you to too much sweat on this particular kind of a developments, because see, as this particular war is going on, fine, multiple number of times some cities have been captured, then they have been then they have been released, then again they have been captured, recaptured, all these things are going on. Then big tech firms swing the X on the talent. We'll see this thing, that why the world over the big tech firms are relieving their staff. Fine. The homogenization of music of TikToks and the viral reels. The article doesn't contain much of a substance for the UPSC. Okay, so this is the overview of the entire newspaper, and now let's discuss all the relevant articles one by one in the detail. Now, starting up, in every class we start with a GS quotation that can be used to complement your answers in any of the GS paper, either 1, 2, 3 or 4. So today we'll take the quotation from the John Knoll. John Knoll says that any tool can be used for good or bad. It's really the ethics of the artist using it. Very rightly said. Even when we see the science, it has dual purposes. Science can be used to enhance the quality of human life, as we have seen by the discovery of vaccine, discovery of antibiotics, medicines, and at the same time science can also be used to unleash terror on the humans. We can see with the discovery of the atom bombs, nuclear bombs, the Hiroshima, Nagasaki. That was the unethical use of science. So science can be used for any purpose. It depends the one who is wielding that knowledge. So a tool is a tool. Fine, but will have both good as well as bad. Will have both good as well as bad uses. Artist ethics will determine. Very good. Fine. We can use it very effectively in GS paper number 4, ethics and human interface. Now moving on. Okay, so this article at COP27, India insists on higher global climate finance targets by 2024. So this particular article will be seen with respect to GS paper number 3, GS paper number 3, environment, ecology, and as COP27 is going on right now. So what are the major issues at the COP27? We'll see here. Okay, now starting with this particular article. Now before going in this article, I would like to give you some of a background information which it will be important for you to connect with this particular article. See this particular thing, guys, actually there is the principle of the common but differentiated responsibility, CBDR. Now the principle of common but differentiated responsibility provides this particular thing, that climate change is a common threat being faced by the entire world, and the climate change mitigation efforts to stop the climate change, they are also the common. Okay, so we are facing the common challenge right now, that is the climate change. So there is a common challenge. If it is a common challenge, there will be common responsibility. Okay, common responsibility. But these responsibility will be differentiated. Differentiated means that, see, the rich countries are the historic polluters, they should contribute more, and the poor countries are not that big emitters. Even when we talk about India, in absolute terms we happen to be the third largest emitter, but in per capita emissions we are at the lowest. Fine. So the principle of CBDR, common but differentiated responsibility, provides that the differential efforts are to be made by the countries. And as these differential efforts are to be made, rich countries need to take more responsibility, and as a part of that, they have to provide the climate finance to the developing and underdeveloped countries. Okay, so the idea of the climate finance, the idea of the climate finance was actually finalized at the COP15 that was held in Copenhagen in 2009. And there it was provided that the developed countries will jointly be mobilizing $100 billion per year and will be providing this particular assistance by 2020. Okay, so gradually they will reach that every year $100 billion are going to the developing countries. Okay, now the developing countries will be using this particular money to upgrade, for bringing the technological changes. Fine, we today need renewable energies. For that, technology is needed. For that, inputs are needed. Fine, capacity building is needed. So this money will be used for that capacity building. Is it clear? However, guys, we see this thing, that the promise made in 2009, which was to be achieved till 2020, it has not been reached. And in this particular capacity, if we take the data given by the OECD, that is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, they provide this particular thing that developed countries have mobilized far lower what they agreed. For example, they mobilized just $52.5 billion in 2013, around just $44.6 billion in 2015. It has steadily increased. Fine, but in 2020 also, the developed countries were able to mobilize just $83.3 billion. So the point that is coming is that not in any year, not even in a single year, the countries have given actually what they have promised, that is the $100 billion. So there are two issues that are coming. There are two issues that are coming. Issue number one, that now we find this particular thing, it is being said that we need to take more targets. For example, in 2015, when the Paris agreement was concluded, there the countries took intended nationally determined contributions. In these INDC targets, countries took many ambitious targets. For example, India took the target that we will be we will be reducing our carbon emission by 33%. Okay, renewable energy share was to be increased to 45%. Many such targets were taken. Actually, three targets were taken by India and all the countries took it. Now we say this thing, okay, this is something that happened. Then last year, that is a COP26, there the demand was made that okay, whatever targets you have taken in Paris in 2015, revise these targets and take more targets. Fine, India agreed also. We said that okay, we are going forward for the Panch Amrit, which is enhanced targets will take. Fine, but we are not saying that these enhanced target are the revision of our INDC. We say that okay, we'll take the enhanced target, but our INDCs will be same. Fine. However, guys, INDC is also in this year we have revised. Okay, this year we have revised. Now the point is coming that you are asking us to revise the INDCs. Okay, you are asking us to do more. Fine, we'll do that. But do you remember that it was the differentiated responsibility? And as a part of a differentiated responsibility, you have to give the funding also, which has not come up till now. So now the developing countries which are led by the India, they are saying that today we want the global climate finance immediately, and we don't want just that $100 billion that was promised in 2009, because now more money is needed. And the developing countries, they are pushing forward for a new collective quantified goal on climate finance. Again, I'll repeat, new collective quantified goal on climate finance. They say this particular thing that they now need trillions of dollars and not just the $100 billion. There is actually an estimate that has been provided. So the Standing Committee on Finance have provided that we need at least 6 trillion to 11 trillion dollar fine till 2030, within next 8 years, if we need to meet the targets which have been set by the developing countries. If we want to reach the NDCs, nationally determined contribution, we need this much money. So just $100 billion is not going to do any good. So therefore, the new collective quantified goal on climate finance, that is the NCQG, they are asking the developed country to enhance the contribution that they have given. Okay, so this is something. Now guys, when we talk about the INDCs, these are the national plans to limit the global temperature well below 1.5 degree Celsius. Okay, so this is something that has come. So guys, I hope that you have understood all this particular issue as what the developing countries are demanding for, what is the India's contention. So up till now, this is the major demand that India has made at the COP27. So guys, the COP27 will continue for one more week also. So okay, so as the things will be coming in between, we'll see them one by one. Now, moving to the next article. Okay. Payments, still an issue. India and Russia working towards a solution. Okay. Now, this particular article we'll see with respect to the GS paper number 2. We'll see this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 2, international relation. Within the international relation, India-Russia relations, we'll see this particular article. Now, before going on this particular article, guys, let's talk some of the background which is important, and after understanding this background, we'll go in this article. So, see, right now, you know this particular thing that there is the Russia-Ukraine war that is going on. And as this Russia-Ukraine war is going on, the Western countries are on the side of the Ukraine, and for that particular matter, they have imposed a lot of sanctions on the Russia. A lot of sanctions have been imposed on the Russia. Now, guys, understand this particular thing, that as the sanctions are imposed onto the Russia, Russia is also facing many of the financial implications because of that particular thing. See, uh, today, if any country, okay, if any country want to do the trade with the West, fine, they cannot do the trade with Russia. If they do the trade with the Russia, they will not be allowed to do the trade with the West, and the entire country has all the world, they have a lot of dependency on the Western world. So therefore most of them have abandoned the Russia. In this particular time, guys, the India is still a meaningful partner for Russia. India's trade with the Russia is going on because during this particular time, Russia is offering the oil to India at the discounted price. Russia is offering the oil at discounted price. Second thing is that in the terms of the weaponry, Russia is supplying the S400 Triumph, which is uh, which is a missile defense system that India will get. Moreover, other weaponries also the Russia is providing to the India. So therefore, India and Russia cannot abandon each other. But okay, now at the same time, there are the financial institutions also, which are not facilitating the monetary transfers into the Russia. Now, why they are not doing that particular thing? Because, guys, recently what happened, the Russia has been banned from the global SWIFT system. Now, what is the SWIFT system? SWIFT, it stands for the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. Okay, now the SWIFT actually doesn't transfers any money. SWIFT is just a messaging platform that the banks or financial organizations use to validate the information. Is it clear or not? Now, guys, suppose one bank has to transfer the money to the other bank. Okay, before transferring, they need to validate the transactions with each other. Now, obviously, they'll not be doing a mobile call, or they'll not be sending the message on the WhatsApp that okay, we want to transfer this much money to the XYZ person's account. Does that account exist or not? So these discussions will not happen on WhatsApp or the telephone. For that, the messaging system is used, and that messaging system, it is called as the SWIFT. Okay, now the Russia has been banned from this SWIFT. So it means that for the financial transactions, many of the banks cannot transfer the money to Russia. They cannot receive the money from the Russia also. Now, when we talk about the SWIFT, it is controlled by the central bank of the G10 countries, the European Central Bank, the National Bank of Belgium, and it is was established in 1973, and right now is headquartered into the Belgium. Now the Western world holds a lot of control on the SWIFT, and from here the Russia has been banned. Now, because of this particular thing, guys, Russia cannot receive the payments, Russia cannot transfer the payments, and as I told you that Russia and India are still the meaningful trade partners. So how the trade will happen if the payments cannot be made? Fine, this is actually a challenge that's there. So this is entire the background that is there, which you need to know before going in this particular article. So I hope that the first background is clear. Now, as the background is clear, let's move in the article. Now, guys, actually, because this issue was there, what India and Russia did? India and Russia came with the rupee ruble arrangement. India and Russia came with the rupee ruble arrangement. And as a part of this rupee ruble arrangement, a very simple mechanism was provided. Here it was provided that Russia will open a bank account in India, okay, and India will open an account into the Russian bank, okay. And in this particular system, what will happen? Just a minute. In this particular system, what will happen? Suppose this is Russia and this is India, okay. When India is importing anything from Russia, India will make the payment in the rupee, okay. India will make the payment into the rupee. And actually, if the Russia wants to import anything from India, then Russia will use the same rupee to make the payment. Okay, Russia will use the same rupee to make the payment, okay, or Russia if wants can also pay the ruble. Russia if wants can also pay the ruble, and those ruble can also be paid by the India. So they are trying to bypass the dollar. They will use the rupee and ruble in the transactions. Fine, I hope that you have understood it. This is something that they are trying to bring. Okay, now the point that comes here is that, guys, actually this system has two problems. This system has two problems. Problem number one, it is fine for the small transactions. It is fine for the small transactions. But what about the big transactions? For example, I told you that we are procuring the S-400 defense system. We are procuring the stealth frigates. We are procuring the other weaponaries, okay, from the Russia. And the payment in these runs in the billions and billions of dollars. Okay. Now, how those particular transactions will happen through this rupee ruble arrangement, that is actually going to be a big problem. Moreover, actually see this particular thing, what has happened over the past few months. Fine, actually Russia got a lot of Indian rupee and they don't understand that what to do about this rupee. Fine, you see this particular thing. India and Russia are having the trade imbalance. The trade imbalance simply means that actually we import more from Russia and we export less. So what's the implication of this particular thing? See, this is something like that. Let's suppose this is Russia and it is India. Now, India will import the goods of 1000 rupees. Fine. When India will import the goods of 1000 rupees, obviously India will pay the payment to Russia. Now the Russia got this 1000 rupees in their bank account. Now Russia can use this particular rupee when Russia will import something from India or other country which wants to trade with the Russia and who is comfortable in accepting the rupee. Now you see this particular thing, rupees internationalization on the terms of dollar has not happened. Rupee is not the preferred currency for international trade. So India can use this particular rupee most of the times in the business with India. So it is just like the credit that you have on Zomato or Swiggy, which can only be used onto the Zomato and Swiggy. So if you have an option, you always be wanting a rupee and not the Zomato or the Swiggy credit because they'll operate there only. Okay. So now the Russia already has a lot of rupee and now here accepting even for S-400 into the rupee, Russia will get struck. So now they are deciding that how this particular payment system can be solved. Now I told you guys that Russia is offering the discounted oil to India, and because of that particular thing, today Russia has emerged the India's largest supplier of oil in the month of October. In the month of October, Russia was the largest supplier and it has bypassed the traditional importers for exporters towards India. Okay, traditional it has replaced the traditional players such as the Saudi Arabia and the Iraq. Okay, this is something that is going on. So therefore now the countries are trying to finalize that how this particular trade and money settlement can be resolved. Okay, so if you read the heading, now the heading will make a lot more sense. Payments are still an issue. India and Russia are working towards a solution. So they are just looking the way that how they can do that particular thing, but up till now the solution has not come. But rather than the solution, this entire issue is a very big dimension in the Russia-India economic relations. Is it clear or not? Fine. The question is there, why Russia is banned for the system? Russia is banned because the system is majorly controlled by the West and the West doesn't want Russia to fight into the Russia-Ukraine war. So therefore, they have banned in order to punish the Russia. Okay. So that is all, guys, about this particular article. And now moving to the next article. Okay. Guys, I have a complaint with you. You don't really like the video. I think there is some, I think, you are not liking the way we are taking the classes. So please tell, if you like, then why you don't like the video. Fine. Big tech firms swing the axe on talent. Now this particular article is important for the GS paper number 3 because in the GS paper number 3 we today find this particular thing, that the state of global economy is not very good. There is a global slowdown that is coming, and as this global slowdown is going on, this thing will impact all the world countries. Okay, now just let me make little bit of a more background and then I'll go in this particular article in detail. Okay, see this particular thing. As the COVID-19 pandemic started as the COVID-19 pandemic started, since then what has happened, there is a global slowdown in the economy that has come, because many of the people, they lost their jobs, they lost their savings. So today they are only doing that kind of a consumption which is very important. Fine, only essential consumptions people are going for, non-essential consumptions people are not going for. And if non-essential consumptions will not be there, what will happen? Obviously the trade between the two different countries, it will come down, global slowdown will come, and all such kind of a thing will be there. Okay, so global slowdown is already an issue. Along with that, there is high inflation that is going on. Along with that, the Russia Ukraine war is going on, which is impacting the global trade. Thirdly, what is happening right now, we see the price of the oil is also very much high. Now this oil is again pushing the inflation. So at the global level, we find this particular thing, that the global slowdown is there. Now in this particular capacity, guys, there is one more issue that's coming in between. There is actually the tech companies, they are removing a large number of people from the jobs. They are removing a large number of people from the jobs. Now in this particular direction, I want to just show you some of the trends that are going on. Now the Twitter is saying that they will cut half of its staff globally, and almost all the people in India that the Twitter has hired, they will just be terminating them. Then the Intel has decided to lay off the employees in certain divisions. Facebook's parent company Meta, they have said that they'll lay off the 11,000 employees. The Amazon is also saying that will not hire the new people. So we see this particular thing, that around the world, the tech players, the global tech players, they are just firing the people. Okay, now what are the reasons that they are firing the people? So we'll see the reasons. Majorly, there are the two reasons that why within the tech sector people are being removed from the job. Reason number one, see this particular thing, guys. If you remember, we have seen that the semiconductors became a very critical component of the economies, because first of all, what are the semiconductors? Semiconductors are very small thumbnail sized chips which give the computational capacity to the electronic devices. So your computer, laptops, smartphones, even in the car, a lot of computing is to be done. That is done by the semiconductor chips. So today they are the backbone of almost everything which is having some tech component. Okay. Now the semiconductor industry was in a lot of crisis. Why? Because in the 2020, when the lockdown was announced, many of the semiconductor companies, they suspended their operations. Then the global trade was impacted, so a lot of raw material was not coming. So semiconductor shortage started in 2020. Because of that particular thing, there was a lot of issues that came in the electronics, in the cars, and all such kind of a things. And at that point of a time, US government came out with the CHIPS Act and provided more fiscal stimulus to the semiconductor industry, that if you start the plant, if you enhance the capacity, we'll give you the money. India also came out with the production linked incentive scheme, where 76,000 crore rupees of fiscal stimulus was given for the semiconductor manufacturing. So around the world, the semiconductors are being given a lot of support. But guys, Intel, fine, there is Intel, and then there is a Qualcomm, who are the major manufacturer of the semiconductors. They are laying the people off. They're laying off the people. What is the reason that these chip makers are removing the people? It's because that, guys, we have seen now there is a drop that is coming into the sales of the laptops and the mobile devices. Why? Two reasons. Very simple reason. Reason number one, when the work from home was becoming mainstreamed into the COVID-19 pandemic, it was thought that it is going to continue for a long, and people, they required a lot of computers, mobile phones for their education, for their office, and for many other purposes. Now the pandemic is going towards a kind of a fag end, or towards a tapering. So as the pandemic is going down, now the work from home is going back, is getting less and less prominent. People are returning back to their offices, and that demand in the laptop and mobile that was there in 2020, it's not there. One thing. Second thing, in the past 2 years, the semiconductor industries, they expanded their capacity, and they started to manufacture a lot of semiconductors. But and there is actually now the now what has happened? Now what has happened? The demand has come down. Supply chains and constraint. Now there is an excess inventory, excess finished products that they are having. Okay, so what is happening right now? They are not facing a lot of profitability. So in order to cut the cost, they are removing the people because already they have excess inventory. Then understand the social media platforms. They are also removing a lot of people. The culprit in this particular thing to a major extent is Apple. How the Apple is a major culprit in this thing? See, today when we talk about the Meta, now the Meta's uh, subsidiaries are Facebook, Instagram, then there is a Snap. Okay, now the Meta and Snap, they have removed the people. Why? Because Apple came out with a feature in their iPhones where the iPhone users, if they want, they if they want, they might not give the permission to applications to track them, to track their data. Now you see this thing, if you are using the Android mobile phone today, all the applications are tracking your data, and that particular data is being given to the advertisers, and those advertisers are using that particular data to show you the targeted ads. Now you spend a lot of time on Facebook, Instagram, and there you are liking certain things, you are using certain videos, and that data is being tracked, and Facebook and Meta and Instagram are selling that particular data. But iPhone users can stop the app from tracking the data and using that particular data for the commercial purpose. Now, if that particular thing will happen, what's the issue? The advertising revenue of the Facebook, Instagram will come down. And it has been provided that the Facebook lost about $12 billion, which is a very big amount because of the Apple's app tracking feature, which has come recently. So this also has impacted the Meta, Snap, etc. So these are the things. Now obviously it's good for the consumer because the consumer has given a kind of a authority that they can give the consent. So this is the issue that has come. I hope that you have understood this particular article, and now we'll move to the next article. ISRO's cryogenic engine indigenously developed for LVM-3 passes hot test. Now, this particular article will see with respect to the prelims, science and tech. With respect to the prelims, science and tech, will see this particular article, as well as we'll see this article with respect to the GS paper number 3, space technologies. Okay. Now, see, actually what has happened, not a very big kind of a thing, but still you should know that. What has happened? CE-20 cryogenic engine has been tested. Okay. Now see this particular thing. When we talk about the ISRO, that is the Indian Space Research Organization, it is the premier space agency of not only India but the entire world. Obviously it is of India, but the entire world's, in the most premier space agencies we have ISRO. Over the years, ISRO has perfected its capabilities to launch the satellites, to place the satellites in their respective orbit. Now to launch a satellite, we need a launcher, that is a rocket. And for the launcher, we need a rocket engine. Now the better the rockets or better the rocket engines we have, more capable we will become to place the satellites into their orbits. And today the satellites have become the backbone of, again, digital economies. Okay, so this is one thing. Now understand one more thing I am telling you, that we need better capable rockets and engines not only for India, but today the ISRO is looking also for the commercialization. Okay, and for the commercialization we have launched even the New Space India Limited, NSIL, fine, which is a commercial wing of ISRO. We have also earlier had Antrix, ANTRIX, which was also a commercial wing of ISRO. Fine. So as we are looking for the commercialization and we want to use ISRO in that, we need more capabilities. Now, in this particular direction, we have tested the CE-20 cryogenic engine. Now, this CE-20 cryogenic engine has been developed indigenously, means within India, and will be used for the launch vehicle Mark 3 LVM-3. Earlier it was called as the GSLV Mark 3. Now GSLV Mark 3, it is one of the most powerful launcher that we are having for India, and it can place multiple satellites in the orbit in just one journey. And if I tell you LVM-3, okay, it recently even placed 36 satellites of OneWeb. Okay, so OneWeb, it is a company which aims to provide the satellite internet. So 36 satellites were placed in one go, and LVM is the heaviest launch vehicle for ISRO. And with the LVM and with this recent satellite launch, we have entered into the commercialization of ISRO. So therefore, we need to give even more capabilities to the LVM-3 or the GSLV Mark 3. And for that particular thing, a new CE-20 cryogenic engine has been developed, and this engine has been hot tested. Now, what is the meaning of the hot test? First of all, what is the meaning of the hot test? So hot test, it is 100% production test used to check all the engine's operating parameters. Okay, so what will be done? The engine will be fired, it will be put with the fuel, and all the components will be tested as if engine would have been put in use into the real world conditions, how it would have functioned. So testing, the hot test is testing into the real conditions. Fine, the hot test has happened. Now when we talk about the cryogenic, what the cryogenic engine is? So cryogenic simply means low temperature. So the cryogenic engines, they are highly efficient liquid propellant engine. So they contain the liquid fuel. Now what is the liquid fuel? They contain two. They have the liquid oxygen and they have the liquid hydrogen. Now liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen, usually you see the liquid and oxygen and hydrogen into the gaseous form, but they can actually be stored at the liquid if there is a very low temperature. For example, if you bring oxygen at minus 18 at minus 1830 Celsius, and if you bring hydrogen at minus 253 degrees Celsius, these gases will turn in liquid, they can be stored there. Okay, now you see this particular thing, if they both will come in contact, they will be highly combustible. So they are needed to be stored into the different chambers, and for the combustion they are brought together, and when their combustion happened, a lot of energy is released, and by that particular energy, thrust is given to the rocket, to the launcher. So the cryogenic engine, it is a liquid propellant based engine which works on liquid oxygen and hydrogen. Okay, so this is what we have tested, and where the test has been carried into the Mahendragiri in Tamil Nadu. Okay, so this is guys all about this particular article. So the article just contained a two-liner concept, but we have tried to see this particular thing in such a dimension that how in exam we can use it. So that is all about it, and now let's move to the next article. Content slot. Content slot. Now this particular article will be important. This particular article will be important for GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2. Media regulation. Media regulation. By the way, we have seen this particular article yesterday also. Now, I think yesterday also we have seen this particular article. So today there are some more new dimensions that have come. Let's discuss it. So actually, before going in this particular article, little bit of a background. So what has happened, just 2 days back, government has released the guidelines for uplinking and downlinking of satellite television channels in India 2022. These are the new guidelines that have been released. Okay, now what these particular guidelines are? They talk about the uplinking, two things. They talk about the uplinking and they talk about the downlinking. Now, what is uplinking and downlinking? So basically, guys, suppose a broadcast is to be made on the TV. A broadcast is made onto the TV. It can be a recorded broadcast or it can be a live broadcast. So first of all, that particular program or that particular video will be uplinked to the satellite, and then the satellite will downlink it to the individual TV screens across the world or across the country. Okay, so for example, there is an XYZ program you wanted to show to the people, so that will be uplinked. So uplinking is sending from base to the satellite, and downlinking is sending from satellite to the viewers, to the individual TVs. So uplinking and downlinking. Okay, for that the new rules have been released. Now as per these new rules, the government has provided this particular thing, that the airwaves and the frequencies, they are the public property and they have to be used into the best interest of the society. So therefore it has been provided that all the TV channel operators, who are uplinking and downlinking, they need to follow these government guidelines that had come. And now let's see what these guidelines are. Number one, it has been provided that all the companies who are, all the TV channels or the teleporters who are operating in India, except the foreign channels, as well as except the channels where it is not possible. For example, the sports channel. What is not possible? I'll tell you. So all the channels except the foreign channels, they need to air the content in the service of public on the theme of national importance on socially relevant issues for at least 30 minutes every day. So every day for 30 minutes, the content is to be shown, which will be on these 8 themes that I'm going to tell you now. So the themes can be of education and spread of literacy, agriculture and rural development, health and family welfare, science and technology, welfare of women and weaker section of society, protection of environment, cultural heritage, national integration. So on these themes, the shows are to be broadcasted every day for minimum 30 minutes. Which broadcasters have to do that? All the broadcasters except the foreign broadcasters, and I told you specific broadcasters where it cannot be done. For example, the sports broadcasters. Now obviously the sports channel might not be able to show that particular thing because, for example, a live cricket match is going on, so in between the match they cannot show that. Okay, so therefore except from them, all of them have to broadcast these shows. This is number one. Number two, it has been provided that India wants to become a teleport hub. India wants to become a teleport hub, and therefore government has bring a lot of ease in this entire sector. For example, if any live thing is to be broadcasted onto the TV, you don't need to take the approval from the government for every such kind of a thing. Only a prior registration will be done, but the approval is not needed. Now guys, what is the meaning of India trying to become the teleport hub? This is a very simple meaning. Now see this particular thing. I told you that we uplink some TV show, and then it is downlinked to the TVs. Now for this uplinking, we need the accessibility to the satellites, as well as we need the technology. Now the small channels, for example, they might not have this technology and accessibility of the satellite, so they can come to India and can ask the Indian operators that you uplink and downlink for us. So India wants to become a teleport hub, and in that particular thing, a large number of permissions that were needed, the permission for live telecast that were needed, they have been removed. This is something that has happened. Now you see this particular thing. As per the FICCI report, it has been provided that the television subscriptions will increase. They will increase by 42 million by 2025. Means 42 million new subscriptions will be added. Right now there are around 178 television subscriptions in India, so they are going to get increased. It means that more people will be coming onto the TV, they will watch the TV, and in this particular direction, showing them the content on national importance is very important, because we see right now the India is becoming more and more polarized. There is a hatredness, there are the divisions, lack of fraternity that's there. So in this particular direction, all these particular measures are something which can bring some good result, but at the same time there are certain issues also that's there. Now what are the issues? Issue number one, now it has been provided that government in the times can interfere to see whether these regulations are not being complied, or whether they are being complied or not. So it actually gives the power to the government to step when required, and they say that this is important to keep a eye on the media, but it might lead to the micromanagement of the media. Now when we talk about the media also enjoys the freedom of speech and expression, and many a times that free expression is curbed in the name of bringing the supervision. So that is something that can happen. Then the next thing that's coming is that actually in the past, also in 2008, the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India has suggested a public service obligation. Fine, public service obligation. Okay, but up till now there is no compensation on that particular thing, and even when these particular broadcasts are to be done, the revenue loss that will happen to the broadcasters, how that revenue loss will be made up. Okay, obviously we see this particular thing that all the slots on the TV, they are booked for some serial or some advertisement or something like that, but these things, how they will become remunerative. Okay, so this is something that's the issue. So this is all guys about this particular article, and I hope that you have understood all these particular issues. And now we'll move to the next article. Should chief ministers have a say in the appointment of governor? Now this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, issues of polity. Now from the past 1 week, if you are watching the newspaper analysis regularly, you might be pretty updated with the recent issue that's going on. Now what's this recent issue? There is the controversy going between the governor of the Kerala and the government of the Kerala. The similar thing is going in Tamil Nadu also. In Tamil Nadu also, the governor and the government, they are having a kind of a conflict. Government says governor is overstepping the mandate, and governor says that the government is not working in the spirit of the constitution. So both are just fight. There is a cat fight going on between governor and government. Okay, we have seen the matters with respect to the Kerala also. Yesterday and day before yesterday also we have seen this particular matter. However, coming to the article first. Okay, so the article is talking about that, okay, should the chief ministers have a say in the appointment of governors? Okay, let's see what the constitution talks about this particular thing. First of all, when we talk about the governor has, the office of governor is a pretty old institution. It existed even during the time of the Mughals as well as Britishers. Now, when we talk about the Mughals had the office of governor in order to reach out to vast territories of the empire. Okay, so there were the big territories, and every territory had a kind of a governor, so it can govern there better and can provide the inputs from that particular territory to the king. Okay, for that governor was needed. Even the Britishers also needed governor to govern effectively. So therefore, when we talk about the governor is actually the link between the center and the states, as well as between the people and the government. So this is the governor's important role. Now, governor has been given many important responsibilities. For example, government has been given responsibility to address the joint session of the assembly. In the budget session, the governor addresses. Moreover, the governor also gives the assent or withdraws the assent to the bill. So in the passing of the bill, legislative functioning of the house, the governor plays a very important role. Now guys, when we talk about the important provisions with respect to the governor, we have article 153 which talks about the governors of the state. We have article 154 which talks about the executive powers of the state, not that much important for the governor. Article 155 is important, which talks about the appointment of the governor. And when we talk about the appointment of the governor, who makes the appointment of governor? It is made by the president. Now we know this thing that the president can take only action on to the recommendation of the prime minister and council of ministers. So actually the governor is being appointed indirectly by the prime minister and the council of ministers at the union. Then article 156 talks about the terms of the office of governor, and these are all the articles that we have. Now as we talk about India, guys, understand this particular thing. India is a unique nation. Why unique nation? See, we have so big diversity. We have so big land mass. Okay. Now, when we talk about India, India has the states who elect their own governments, and state has been given considerable. The states have been given considerable areas where they will legislate and they will be supreme. But at the same time, there is also need to ensure the unity as well as some form of uniformity, because we have single constitution, and in line with that single constitution, uniformity is also to be maintained. Fine. So diversity and unity both are to be maintained. So actually, in order to provide a link between the state and the union, there is the office of governor which has been created. So it acts as a link. Now, when we talk about article 155, I told you the governor will be appointed by the president. That is the thing. Up till now, there is no such specific approval that is given by the chief minister. But the Sarkaria Commission, which came in 1983, and when it examined the center-state relations, it provided this thing that the chief minister should be consulted before appointing the governor. So chief minister's recommendation should be taken, that was provided. Now, why this particular recommendation was made by the Sarkaria Commission? So Sarkaria Commission had this particular thing that governor is supposed to be independent, non-partisan person. Governor needs to keep the interest of the state in the mind first. First, the governor should be serving the people. That is something that is happening. But at times we find this particular thing that the governor and the chief minister, they have a lot of ideological difference. And when they have ideological difference, everyday matters will turn in confrontation, and actually the governance will be impacted. And if governance will be impacted, people indirectly are going to get impacted. So therefore, it has been provided in order to maintain the good governance, smooth governance, and as well as in order to have the better cooperation between the state and the center. It is important that governor and the chief minister, relation between the governor and chief minister needs to be good. It needs to be smooth. So therefore, consulting the chief minister is something that is good. It should be done. So therefore, it was thought that the appointment should be made in consultation with the chief minister. That is better. Now this is something that happened. Now after that guys, understand this particular thing. This is good, but it's not the best thing. Also, it also has some kind of limitations. What are the limitations? See, actually many times governor has to make independent decision. See, the chief minister might have some populist tendencies. Populist means only those things where you want to attract the people. So chief minister might have some populist tendencies. Chief minister might be looking only for the electoral gain. That is something. So governor at the time has to go against the chief minister and had to uphold the constitutional order. So in that particular thing, governor needs to be independent. And if chief minister will be consulted for the governor, obviously chief minister will suggest that particular person's name who is favorable to chief minister. So the independence of the office will be lost. So this is some reason which provides that no, chief minister's consultation is not that much important. Okay, this is something that's coming. Now understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the normal system in the state, the majority rule requires that the governor not be beholden to the chief minister. Okay, chief minister's powers don't become insignificant. It means that in normal circumstances, governor should not belittle the chief minister. Chief minister is important, legislation is important. So neither the governor is supposed to be agent of center, nor the governor needs to be just an extension of chief minister. Governor has a very sensitive role to play. Governor is supposed to be a friend, philosopher and guide, helping from the back, sorting out the issues, resolving the dispute. So governor needs to realize their constitutional importance and need to sensitively deal with all these particular matters. So that is something that has been suggested in this particular article. So that is all guys about it. I hope that you have understood it. And now we'll move to the next article. Forgotten in India after fighting from world trenches. So this particular article guys will see with respect to one dimension of the world history. World history GS paper number 1. So actually today is 11th November. Today is 11th November. And actually 11th November, it has an importance in the world history. Why? Because on November 11, 1918, an armistice was signed between the Germans and the Allies, and the World War I came to an end. So guys, armistice, it is a formal declaration to bring a war at the hold. That is the armistice. After the armistice, the peace treaty is signed. Okay. Now, when we talk about the armistice simply doesn't mean the end of the war. Fine. For example, between the North and the South Korea, the armistice was signed in 1953. But because the peace treaty was not signed, up till now, technically the North Korea and South Korea were at war. So, armistice was signed in on November 11, 1918, and today is the November 11. Now, when we talk about the World War I, the World War I was fought between two groups. On one hand, there were the Allied powers, which had France, Russia, Britain. On other hand, there were the Central Powers, which had Germany, Austria-Hungary, Ottoman Empire and Bulgaria. Now, in this particular direction, guys, actually, Indian people, Indian army men, Indian soldiers also participated. But around the world, we never observe this November 11. Around the world, November 11 is observed as the day of the armistice. But in India, we don't do that particular thing apart from some army cantonments. Fine. Actually, 1.5 million. Around 1.5 million, just a minute. So around 1.5 million army men fought into the World War I, and the support from the nationalist leaders such as the Gandhiji fine was given to them. Now the question comes that why we don't observe that? Why don't we celebrate the valor? Why don't we celebrate the bravery so shown by the Indian men into the World War I? See, understand this particular thing. There are reasons for that particular thing. Reason is that it was said that India was fighting at the world stage, but at the same time, India itself is not independent. Okay, India itself is not independent. So that particular bravery is not given that much importance. Moreover, understand that actually there was the failure of Indian independence to follow automatically from India's participation in the war. So, as India participated into the war just after the World War One, did India become independent? No. So, it meant that we, rather than an independent force, rather than an independent army, are just an extension of the Britishers. Okay, so in that capacity, the war was fought. So, therefore, we don't celebrate the valor of the army men in this particular war that is going on. So it has been provided that that is the issue, but it's not correct. Author says that the wars fought for, that we think the wars were fought for somebody else, somewhere else. Okay, that is the thing. But no, the valuable contributions are to be recognized. And in this particular direction, we need to make sure that within the history books, particularly the world history books, the contributions of the Indian soldiers are needed to be rewritten, they are needed to be re-emphasized. That is something that's being provided. Now, moving to the next article. A way out of Kerala's fiscal vulnerability. Okay, this particular article, guys, we'll see with respect to the GS paper number 3, fiscal issues. Fiscal issues. Now, first of all, before going in this particular article, I just want to give you a disclaimer. Disclaimer is this, that you don't need to go too much into the deep in this particular article, because the article is too much specific to the Kerala. It is giving us the numbers that, okay, how much tax collection happened in Kerala, fine, what are the trends, how much is the revenue estimates, what are the budgetary estimates, fine. So much of the data in the entire article is filled. Now that particular so much of data is not important for our examination. Moreover, this particular data is changing. You will not be changing, so not important, and even if you want, you will not be able to retain it. Now we need to see some specific dimensions which are important for the exam. So actually, what's the issue? I want to give you some background. So recently, the Reserve Bank of India released a report to study the fiscal vulnerability of the Indian state. It wanted to see that whether our states are also having the high level of debt, because the Sri Lankan crisis, why it happened? Because Sri Lanka got a lot of debt and they were not able to repay that debt. They were not able to service that particular debt. That reason, the crisis came in Sri Lanka. So Indian states were seen, and actually it was found Kerala was among the 5 most indebted states of India. Now, most indebted states, the states who have taken a lot of debt, they are Punjab, Rajasthan, Bihar, and West Bengal, and Kerala. Okay. Now, the Kerala's fiscal problems has actually become more problematic. Fine, since 2018-19, because there were the floods, and in 2020 the COVID-19 that came. You might be knowing that a large number of cases into the COVID-19 actually came into the Kerala. That is something that has happened. Okay. Now, actually, when we talk about any state's financial vulnerability, for that there is a Domar stability rule that is there. Now, the Domar stability rules give a very simple formula. The formula is that if the interest rate adjusted for inflation, should be lower than the GSDP growth rate. Now, what is the GSDP? GST stands for the gross state domestic product. Now, for India, we have GDP. For the states, we have GSDP, that is the gross state domestic product. It is the sum of all the value added by the industries within the state. Okay. So, we have the state GSDP. So, what is the GSDP growth? The interest rate growth should be lower than. So, GSDP growth rate needs to be there and interest rate growth needs to be at the low level. If that is there, the state is fiscally sound. That is there. Now, when we talk about the Kerala, Kerala has breached the fiscal norms multiple times in the last 5 years. Only in some years, for example, 2019, 20 and 2021, fine, the stability rule was there. Fine, was not broken. Now, at the same time, when we talk about the increase in nominal GSDP, it should be higher than the debt growth. This is also one more rule. Okay, so the GSDP as it is increasing, the increase should be more than the increase into the debt, but that has also not happened. So therefore, today when we talk about the GSDP, gross state domestic product to debt ratio, it's a 37.2%. So whatever the GSDP of the Kerala is, 37.2% equivalent is their debt. According to the 14th Finance Commission, it should not be more than 25%, but for Kerala, it's standing at 37.2%. One. Secondly, we see that into the Kerala, the expenditure that is being done, that expenditure is not done for the capital formation, infrastructure, etc. is not being built. Fine. So the investment in the education, health, agriculture, for the capital formation, for the infrastructure development, the investment has been less. Property tax could have been easily doubled, but property tax have not been focused. If property tax will not be increased, government will not get the revenue. So here also the Kerala's performance is not good. And the article talks about this particular thing, that the Kerala also needs to focus on one more dimension. Every year, a large number of people from the Kerala, they go to the other countries. So human capital flight, brain drain from Kerala is very much high. That is also something Kerala needs to see, because these people, if they'll stay in Kerala, they'll generate the wealth for Kerala. So for that particular thing, private universities of world class standards should be established within the Kerala itself, which will arrest the people going out, and these people, when they'll stay back in Kerala, they will contribute in the economy of Kerala. So this is something that's needed. So Kerala immediately need to address the fiscal vulnerabilities that are coming there. That is all about this particular article, and now we'll move to the next article. Okay, so now we have the mains practice question for today. So mains practice question says, state governments in India are experiencing a fiscal crisis that is adversely impacting their development and welfare expenditures. What are the reasons for this fiscal crisis? Suggest steps which can help in improving the state's finances. Okay, so this is a 10 marker question for the GS paper number 3. So guys, please do write on this particular question, and that is all for the today's newspaper analysis. And with this, we come to an end to the today's newspaper video. Guys, I hope that you are liking the video. I hope that this video is helping in your exam preparation. If you have liked the video, you can please support us by leaving a lovely comment, by liking, and you can share the video also with your friends. That is all for today. Thank you so much. Please